You have found the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video for, let's see, February the 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, and we're now into the back half of February, a little bit longer this month, with the 29th day tacked on to the end of the month. It's a leap year after all. But yeah, the first half of February, remarkably warm, and we've got more warm weather to talk about in tonight's video. But we also have a little wintry weather to talk about for a change. We'll get to that in just a second. Today went pretty much as expected. We had a pretty strong cold front approach this afternoon. It squeezed out some raindrops, but perhaps more impactfully, it squeezed out some gusty winds at the Youngstown Warren Airport just before 1:30 this afternoon. There was a peak gust of 49 miles per hour. The rain was annoying if you needed to be outside for any reason, but it was all fairly light. It didn't add up to much more than a few hundredths of an inch across most of our 5-county viewing area. And as I record this video, it's 7:09 this evening. There's not much on the radar, but a couple of passing flurries will be a possibility this evening and into parts of the overnight as well, as this colder air starts blowing over those lakes. And we talked about this last evening, that the Great Lakes are pretty much wide open with only 4% ice coverage on the Great Lakes and 0% ice coverage on Lake Erie, which is pretty unusual for this time of the year, for sure. It's climatologically speaking the peak of ice season on Lake Erie. In the meantime, we are tracking a little, what we call a clipper, tomorrow evening. It's kind of an Alberta clipper, and this is already causing the Weather Service offices across the Mid-Atlantic region to hoist some winter weather advisories and winter storm watches. I think you'll see this map filled in even farther later on tonight into tomorrow morning. Perhaps a lot of areas around and south of Interstate 70 getting in on a winter weather advisory, because this system is trending a little bit stronger, a little bit farther to the north. So locally, and in case you're new to my videos here, I'm a television meteorologist in Youngstown, Ohio, which is kind of halfway between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, right along the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. And in our local area, you know, I think during the daylight hours we're fine tomorrow. It's towards evening, towards about 6, 7 o'clock, that some light snow is going to try to push in. Now, as you can see, the snow is certainly more likely to be impactful down towards Parkersburg, Marietta, Athens, Charleston, Morgantown, places like that. Once you get north of I-70 and closer to our TV market, it's going to get lighter. It's going to be a little less impactful, but I do think it's going to snow in a lot of spots for at least a few hours tomorrow evening. Then, once our system moves off to the east and continues impacting D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, places like that, late tomorrow night into Saturday morning, for us, the weekend will start with cold, gusty breezes, a scattering of snow showers and flurries. Pretty classic midwinter stuff for northeast Ohio and western PA on Saturday. Additional accumulations Saturday, probably an inch or less in most of our area. Could someone squeeze out a little bit more if you get under a random heftier snow band? It wouldn't shock me, but for the most part, the big story on Saturday will be the cold and the wind, but a warm front lifts in and better things are ahead starting on Sunday. Now let's focus a little more on the Friday evening general snowfall. You know, this is going to focus or be focused on our central and especially our southern viewing area. Here's a look at the computer model spread for accumulations from Friday morning through Saturday night for kind of the middle of our viewing area. So think Mahoning County, southern Trumbull County, southern and central Mercer County. That's kind of what in northern Lawrence County. That's kind of the heart of our viewing area, if you will. The model spread, you know, there's pretty good consensus here, right around an inch in total. The NAM model, this afternoon's run, a little bit higher. Now that's for the middle of our viewing area. Let's go down south to East Liverpool and show you the same model data for that location. As you can see, it's just a little bit higher. The NAM, of course, a little bit of an outlier, but some of our other modeling would suggest that we do a little bit better down towards East Liverpool and Wellsville, places like that. Here's what we did with our snow map when we issued this afternoon. I think there's going to be a couple or a few sloppy inches down towards Cincinnati, Parkersburg, Marietta, Charleston, places like that, and perhaps up to a couple of inches as far north as the greater Pittsburgh area, maybe Wheeling, Columbus, perhaps up to a couple of inches. Once you get closer to our viewing area, you know, I think this is going to be a coating in a lot of places in our central and northern areas, and an inch or so once you're down towards Salineville, West Point, East Liverpool, Glenmore, Calcutta, Rogers, places like that. You know, it's not going to surprise me at all if someone tries to get an inch and a half out of this once you get down towards the Ohio River, East Liverpool, and especially down towards the Steubenville area, Toronto, places like that, down towards Jefferson County, to the south of East Liverpool. I think an inch and a half or maybe even close to 2 inches will be fairly common once you're far enough to the south. But for most of our TV viewing area, this isn't all the snow in the world, but it's going to be enough to make things a little bit slick for a time Friday evening. Those untreated surfaces can certainly be slick for a good chunk of Friday evening into parts of the overnight. And speaking of the overnight, by the time we get up Saturday morning, we're into that lake effect regime, and it's going to just be cold outside. Temperatures in the 20s, wind chills in the teens. What you see is kind of what you get all day Saturday, with wind chills mostly in the teens throughout the day. So not a very nice day on Saturday, just kind of a classic midwinter day in our part of the country. We haven't had too many of those, at least in the last few weeks. We had about a 10-day stretch in mid-January that was kind of typical midwinter stuff, but that's pretty much it for the winter, that 10-day stretch in the middle of January. So this weekend, 29, the best we can do Saturday, 39 though on Sunday. And while it will be breezy Sunday afternoon, with the sun out, and now that we're into what I call sun angle season, anytime the sun is out, even if it's a blustery day and temperatures aren't that warm, it still feels pretty nice. Now, I do think the month is going to end on a warm note. One more cold shot perhaps at the start of next weekend, right around the 23rd, 24th, but after that, looks pretty blowtorchy as far as the pattern across the lower 48 for the last few days of February and probably the first week of March. Don't see much cold in the pattern at all during that stretch. In case you missed it, I put it on social media this afternoon. The Climate Prediction Center, part of NOAA or the National Weather Service, put out their initial March outlook and their initial or updated spring outlook, the 3 months of meteorological spring, March, April, and May. This is just March's temperatures. Warmer than average temperatures favored where we are, and I think that is the right idea. I have no argument with that whatsoever. As far as precipitation goes, now this is where I might have some differences with the Climate Prediction Center forecast. I kind of suspect there's a wetter corridor in through here in March, a little bit more than what they're showing. I think they have the right idea along the west coast, the Intermountain West, but I think some of this wetter area will translate a little bit farther to the east in the month of March. So I think March will be mild. I think it'll be fairly unsettled as well. And their spring outlook also, they went with kind of a stock El Nino look for the spring season, even though El Nino is decaying and it will continue to decay. In fact, that process will probably accelerate over the next couple of months. It's kind of a stock El Nino look, and, for me, I'm not sure if the spring is a stock El Nino look. I think the colder water in the eastern Pacific will have a say in the spring pattern, and even though March is likely to be mild, I'm a little bit nervous about April and May being a couple of chillier months compared to the average. But we're going to have a lot more to say on the longer range on future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks. Coming up on Friday, we'll have a live look at the radar, show you what's going on with our light snow pushing in Friday evening. We'll update the weekend forecast and much, much more. Hope to see you then. Thanks for watching on this Thursday night.